Hello everyone, welcome back with me, Hermita Arif, your lecturer for Intermediate Financial Accounting 2. So for today's sessions, we are going to discuss the first lesson outcomes, which is the ability to apply accounting on the acquisitions and the dispositions of PPE, plant, property, and equipment. So it is under chapter 10 of our textbook with the title of Acquisitions and Dispositions of Property, Plant, and Equipment. So after completing this topic, you will have 5 ability. The first one would be to identify property, plant, and equipment and its related cost. So you'll be able to identify the asset of the company, which one is considered as PPE, and how much would be recorded as its cost. The second one is to discuss the accounting problem associated with the capitalizations of the borrowing costs. It is related to the asset that constructed by the company itself. The third one, you will be able to explain the accounting issues related to acquiring and valuing the plant asset. The fourth one, you will be able to describe the accounting treatment for costs subsequent to acquisition. So it is the cost incurred by the company while using the asset. And finally, you will be able to describe the accounting treatment for disposal of property, plant, and equipment. So let's begin with learning objective number 1, the ability to identify property, plant, equipment, and its related costs. So what is PPE? PPE stands for simply property, plant, and equipment, or it is also called fixed asset or plant assets. So some company they call it fixed asset, some company they call it plant asset, while some others they call it PPE, plant, property, and equipment. So the definition of the PPE itself is the tangible assets that are held for use in production or supply of goods and services, for rentals or others, or for administrative purpose. In other words, to make it in the simple sentence, it is actually the asset owned by the company that is used in the operation of the company. So it is not for sale, it is not for investment. All right, so derived from these definitions, there are 3 main characteristics of PPE. The first one is they are required for the use in the operations and not for sale. And from the definitions, it is said that PPE is used for the purpose of company operations. So property, plant, and equipment held for to anticipate higher price in the future will be classified as investment, not PPE. The same things goes if a company holds specific assets, but to be sold to the customer. It's considered as inventory instead of PPE. So, for example, we have the car dealer. Car in the dealer, it's not the PPE, but it's inventory. All right. The second characteristic of PPE is they are long-term in nature and usually depreciated. So PPE is expected to be used by a company for several years, usually of course more than 1 year, and therefore it should be expensed during period in which it's expected to generate profit or to be used by the company. So for example, we bought a vehicle for 200 million and we are going to use it for like 5 years. So we need to expense this 200 million throughout 5 years, not in the first year only. All right. So the third characteristic is they possess the physical substance. That's why from the definitions, we define the PPE as the tangible asset because it possesses the physical substance. This means that this differentiates this PPE from intangible asset, because from its name itself, intangible asset, they has no physical substance. And again, we will cover the intangible asset in the different chapter later on. So we are moving on to talk about the cost of PPE. So most companies usually use what we call historical costs in recording their PPE, which means the cash or cash equivalent of price of obtaining the asset and bringing it to the locations and condition necessary for intended use. So from the slide here, you can see the three words that I have highlighted for you. The first one is obtaining the asset. So let's say you want to buy a car and you pay you pay 200 million. So it is the cost of obtaining the asset, obtaining the car. And after buying the car, of course, you need to maybe you need to pay insurance for the car. So the insurance payment will be considered as part of the cost. Another thing, you need to transport the car into your buildings, and the expense of the transportation will be considered as cost as well. So whatever expenditure made by the company in obtaining the asset, transported into the intended place of using, and also maybe you need some installation for that specific asset before using it. So all the expenditure will be considered as cost. Okay, to make our explanations clearer, let's consider the cost of several PPE here. We begin from land. So when a company acquires land, it is not just the purchase price that is capitalized by the company. Additional costs such as closing costs, attorney fees, maybe cost of clearing, grading, filling, are also included in the cost. However, if any improvements made to the land, such as parking lots or fences which have limited lives, they are considered as separated from land, and therefore it should be presented separately in the balance sheet and depreciated over time. Okay, moving on to buildings. The cost of buildings includes everything from construction to completions. So this includes materials, labor, overhead, and fees for professionals like architects or engineers. So basically, any expenditures that brings the building into its ready-to-use condition is capitalized. Next, we have equipment here. Again, the cost of equipment includes not only the purchase price, okay, but also all associated costs, as you can see here, to make the equipment operational, like several items here, as you can see, and these are considered part of the asset total cost and will be depreciated over its useful life. So any expenditure here, like as you can see, insurance, for example, so we don't record it as insurance expense. Instead, it's part of the cost, so we have to record it as equipment. By this, we have covered all the concept of costs, and in the next sections, you will be expecting the second learning objective, which is on self-constructed asset.